Let's,
We wanted him to stay on the screen so we could see him.
yeah, if you could go ahead and,
Unless he's using his
do the-
phone, he can't do both at the same time.
are you on the Teams meeting? Had you been on the Teams meeting via your computer or on your phone?
Through my computer, through my laptop.
If you could go ahead and do that so we could have an image of your face,
yeah.
and then we'll do the audio through the phone.
No problem.
Okay,
Yeah, you just gotta give me a.
sure.
You're gonna have to make it a little bit louder
Let's see here. Meeting ID 273.
Sit.
Ask him to speak very loud.
Okay, we're going to need you to speak pretty loudly for it to function.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
Okay, that's working well.
Still don't have his image.
He's working on it.
I'm coming back. You just need to let me in again.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, okay, we're good.
Picture my head.
So let's, I do apologize for the technology glitch. Can you hear us?
Barely, but yes, I can hear you a little bit. Yep.
Is that any better?
That's a little bit. Yep.
Okay, I apologize for the technical glitch. We've had people coming in and working with the system, and apparently they've disrupted the order of events to get access to it. So thank you, thank you for your patience with regard to this. Since we have everything working, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The Board of Zoning Appeals of Kent County, Maryland, this 17th day of April is in session. Dr. Al Townsend, Joan Horsey, and John Massey are sitting. Chris Jummon is serving as attorney for the board. Carla Gerber, Mark Carper, and Campbell Safin are serving as staff. The board has before it one application, Thomas and Susan Swartzwalter. The clerk will now read into the record the notice of the hearing, all pertinent facts, and will identify all correspondence received in this matter, which has been provided to the members of the board.
The following notice was placed in the Kent News on April 13th, 2023. Notice is hereby given that the Kent County Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, April 17th, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the County Commissioner's Hearing Room at 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland, and will render a decision on the following application. Thomas and Susan Swartzwalder requesting a variance to replace 88 feet of an existing 4-foot-high fence in the buffer. The replacement fence will be 4 feet high and set in concrete. The property is located at 9827 Breezecroft Lane in the 6th Election District and is zoned critical area residential. Members of the public are welcome to attend the meeting in person or via the conference call number. Call 872-239-8359. Enter conference ID 672-141-210#. Letters were mailed to adjacent property owners of Mr. and Mrs. Swartzwalder on March 21st, and the property was posted on March 22nd. No correspondence was received for this application.
Before we get started, I think that we'll have the record reflect that.
Chris.
We'll have the record reflect that it's 5:40. The last 35 minutes or so were spent attempting to have the Teams meeting software work properly on the in the County Commissioner's hearing room. We have received, other than the applicant's call-in, one other call-in, though I'm led to understand that caller has hung up after receiving information about either the minutes for this meeting or the minutes of the last meeting. It was not clear to me. Minutes for this meeting, whether they would be issued and available to the public, and that individual was assured that minutes would be available in the coming weeks. Nobody else from the public has called in while we were attempting to fix the software glitch, and there's apparently no one in the audience here in the meeting room other than staff. I'm satisfied, though, we've had this technical glitch that the hearing can proceed. One, we understand that despite the software glitch, the hearing will be recorded such that a transcript will be available in the unlikely event of an appeal. The public has had the last 40 minutes to either arrive here personally or to be on the telephone or the computer, whatever the right word is. So I'm satisfied that we can proceed, even though it's a bit disjointed, as we have a visual but not audio through the computer system, and we have the audio but not the visual through a telephone. Okay.
Okay. The hearing will follow this procedure. The applicant will present their case, after which the board and anyone present may cross-examine them in regard to their testimony. If the applicant should have any witnesses to speak on their behalf, they will each testify, and the board and anyone present may cross-examine each witness in regard to their testimony. Anyone else present who wishes to testify on behalf of the applicant may do so and then be cross-examined. Protestants may then testify, after which each may be cross-examined in regard to their testimony by the board and anyone present. The board at its discretion may call staff or another person deemed appropriate to testify, after which staff or the witness called may be cross-examined in regard to their testimony by the board and anyone present. After everyone has testified, then the applicant and protestants may each be allowed to present a closing argument. Mr. Showalter, will you, I assume you're representing yourself, so I have to swear you in, so will you raise your right hand? Do you declare that the testimony that you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Okay. Well, please state your name, address, and what the application is all about, what you're requesting.
Thomas P. Schwarzwalder, 9827 Breezecroft Lane, Chestertown, Maryland, 21620. My wife and I are seeking a variance to replace 88 feet, which is 11 8-foot sections of fence within the buffer zone. Our property abuts the public landing on Fairleigh Creek, and the current fence is in disrepair. It's in such bad shape that it cannot be repaired. We are looking to replace the fence in kind. It will be conforming to the requirements of front yard because our water side is the front yard. So 4-foot high, 3-rail paddock style fence. The only difference is we are looking to add 2-inch by 4-inch wire to the fence, which will help with further privacy or nuisance issues from people using the public landing.
I noted that the zoning commission sent us a favorable recommendation with regard to your application, and I also noted that the critical area commission had no objection to your application as well. I did have a couple of questions. Will that variance cause any substantial detriment to adjacent properties?
It will not cause any detriment to any neighboring property.
Okay. And I assume the variance is not going to change the character of the neighborhood since you're just replacing an existing fence?
Correct. If anything, it will improve it based off the deteriorating condition of the existing fence.
And I know the variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the practical difficulty is the location adjacent to a public landing where there are multiple traffic problems, traffic patterns, and people coming and going with not only themselves, their boats and their pets, which can present difficulty in without the fence and preventing people from
Correct.
getting.
That's the issue, is the people using the landing that, that they have pets, dogs, just to separate my property from the public landing.
Okay. Mrs. Horsey, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't think so, no.
Mr. Massey?
Yes, sir. Will the new fence be installed in the same orientation as the existing fence with the rails towards the public landing?
I apologize. I was having trouble hearing you on that one.
Will the new fence be installed with the same orientation as the existing fence, with the rails towards the public landing and the posts
Correct.
on your side?
Yep. The upright post will be on my side. The horizontal 3-rail post will be on the other side,
Okay.
the public landing side.
Just writing it down.
Mr. Drummond, do you have any questions?
No, and the variance is, do I understand it, because without the variance, no fence would be permitted? In other words, the fence that's there now is non-conforming? Is that?
Yeah, so the fence has concrete footers, so that's considered a structure in the buffer area, which would be prohibited without the variance.
Okay, so it's not the fence itself, it's the manner in which it's installed.
Right, if they were just simple staked-in kinds of post, that would be permitted without the variance.
So
Okay.
fence.
That's all the questions I have.
And if I could add one more thing, I am fine with, I understand the mitigation, the 3-to-1, based off the square footage. I've also been in contact as of this morning with a local surveyor that will find the property line and ensure that the fence is on my property, not the county public landing property.
Good, good, good.
Do we know if it is now, Mr. Schwartzwalder? Is it fence on your property or the county, or nobody really knows?
I do not know that. My wife and I, it was an as-is purchase. We paid for the home outright. There's no financing, so there was no survey.
All right,
There was no financing, so there was no survey done.
okay.
But we will find out.
Does anybody know how long the fence has been there? Has anybody looked at aerials or anything, and? Not clear? Okay. But very likely prior to critical area program being,
Based on the condition of the fence, I would say yes. Oh,
well, I'd like to be able to say it in the decision that
I'm just saying if the critical area became effective in
89 or,
yeah, I mean, that's a long time for wooden fence,
yeah, okay. All right, I get it.
but it may have replaced one that we just didn't know.
Yeah, and you can't tell from any aerials and, right,
Is that
okay.
it? Is that it?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay. Do you have anyone there who also wishes to testify on behalf?
No, sir.
Okay. Are there any there are no protestants in the room or on the internet, so I assume we have no protestants. If you'd like to make a final statement, well, let's back up. Let's call staff forward. Mr. Carper, will you raise your right hand? Do you declare that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, position, and staff's recommendations.
My name is Mark Carper. I'm an associate planner with the Department of Planning, Housing, and Zoning with Kent County. Staff does recommend approval for this requested variance with 3 conditions. Those conditions being that the boundary be defined, which Mr. Schwartzwalder has commented that they would, and that there would be mitigation of 3-to-1 for the disturbance during the process of replacing the fence. And that's primarily centered around the square footage of each of those concrete footers, so it's going to be pretty minimal. And the third one would be that the variance would lapse after 1 year if the project is not completed.
And a buffer management plan?
That would be submitted with the permit application. We'd have to receive that, review it, and get final approval.
So that would not be required to be in our, in our conditions?
It could be part of the conditions for the variance, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
It's something he's indicated that he would go ahead and do. And so we'll coordinate with him in terms of that particular application or that form and the appropriate determination of the plant that he would choose.
Okay, okay.
Mark,
Okay.
you might want to point out that he doesn't need a permit for the fence, which is why we do need the buffer management.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So the department does not provide permits for fencing per se. It's not something we require that for. So the buffer management plan or that mitigation plan is what, as I understand, it's in lieu of that.
Okay, okay, good
It
enough.
should be made a condition then, because there won't be any further
Yes.
approvals from staff.
Okay, that's a good point.
Right,
Right.
right, okay.
Thank you very much.
So, and Mr. Swartzwalder, did you hear and understand all of those conditions that would be imposed?
Yes.
Okay, okay, good, thank you.
Okay, let me ask.
If you'd like to, do you have a question?
I do. Inasmuch as this will be the last time that the matter will be before the county, before the fence is built. Oh, no. Wait a minute. How will the buffer management plan, how will we know that the fence doesn't go in before the buffer management plan is approved? And I guess it would be a violation of the terms of the variation, of the variance, and then you could take enforcement action. Okay. Mr. Schwartzwalder, you understand that you shouldn't be building the fence until the buffer management plan is approved by the department.
Mr. Schwartzwalder? So
Yeah,
what Mr. Drummond stated was that since we don't provide permits or they're not required, a condition of this variance would be that the buffer management or mitigation plan would have to be approved prior to installation of the fence. Since there's no permitting required, what we'd have to do is, it would be a violation of this variance if that buffer management plan is not approved prior to installation of the fence. Just to make sure you're aware of that.
Understood. Agreed.
Okay.
If you'd like to make a closing statement, you certainly can before the board decides on the application.
Sure. Thank you. I think it's, my wife and I are just looking to replace the fence. It's in disrepair, and we understand that the fence is in the buffer zone. We do think it is a necessity for us, for our our privacy, the protection of our property. We did have an incident. I did have an incident last summer with somebody using the ramp at the public landing with their dog and my dog, and I'd like to avoid that if possible. I understand that, and I'm willing to agree to submitting the buffer mitigation plan. As soon as the fence is installed, we'll install the mitigation. I'll have the mitigation plan done, whether I plant the necessary square footage myself. But we'll absolutely adhere to that, and I understand that it needs to be made sure that it's on my property, and I understand that it's a year from the issuing of the variance. So I'm understanding of all that, and I hopefully we get a favorable recommendation.
Good, thank you so much. We'll step back or we'll discuss it and send you or give you a recommendation right now. So.
Let's see. It's 88 feet. I assume the posts are 8 feet on center, so that would be 11 posts with, 3 square feet of concrete, 33 square feet, so about 100 square feet of mitigation. And that's one plant, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Approximately.
it could be one canopy tree,
Yeah. Okay.
understory tree, and a bush.
All
Ms. Horsey?
I'm in favor of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any objections either.
any
Mr. Drummond, you're
No,
okay?
I-
Okay. Everything seems to be in order. It's certainly a reasonable recommendation. Your property definitely needs to be protected. I don't know how many people come down to that landing, but I'm sure it's significant in the summer, and all kinds of things could happen if you didn't have that fence. So I certainly appreciate the application and the need for the fence. If I could get a motion from somebody.
Let's say, so we have it in the record that the Planning Commission reviewed this application on April the 6th and has supplied a letter to the board recommending approval with the conditions that Mr. Carper has outlined.
You want a motion?
Yes.
Okay, make a motion to grant a
You
buffer.
got to get on real close.
Make a motion to grant a buffer variance to replace 88 feet of existing 4-foot-high fence in the buffer area at 9827 Breezecroft Lane in the 6th Election District, owned by Thomas and Susan Schwartzwalder, which is zoned critical area residential with the following conditions. The boundary line is to be located prior to the installation of the proposed fencing. Buffer management plan for mitigating the impacts of installation be submitted to the planning department for review and approval before the fence is installed. 3-to-1 ratio, locating the plantings if possible between the improvements, and the variance will lapse after the expiration of 1 year if no substantial construction is in accordance with the plans herein presented occurs.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. The motion is passed, and we will be sending you written approval within a month. And again, thank you for your patience with regard to all this mess.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Okay. And you too.
Thank you.
All right, good night, sir.
We also have before us the minutes from the previous meeting, and Mr. Massey, Mr. Hill, and I were attending at that meeting. Mr. Hill is not here today. Mr. Massey, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, and I assume we're both in favor of that? Okay, so the minutes from the previous meeting have passed as well. Is there any other business that we need to attend to from staff? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned.